Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where tonight my friends and I will be playing Trail of Cthulhu RPG. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is Cerulean Halo. It was written by Matthew Sanderson, and it's from a collection called Mythos Expeditions. It's available from Amazon.com. The game master is Matthew Sanderson, and this is episode 2. A couple of our people aren't able to make it tonight, but we're going to go ahead and play through the story without them. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Matthew?
Right, so where we left it then, you had just come over the horizon in the morning and seeing Clipperton Rock ascending like this black sail or black castle over the horizon. And as it starts to get closer, you can see this almost like funnel vortex of birds, thousands of them in the air circling the island, and the din getting gradually louder and louder as they shriek and turn in the sky. And a few palm trees you can see pop up again above that horizon rim. The island itself is very, very flat. So these are pretty much the tallest features that you see there. And no matter how much you look, there is no sign of the lesser spotted pina colada anywhere. Yeah. A couple of them did migrate over here, but that's a different story. But there are just birds galore. You are the only ship out here. So this is about the best part of 1,000 miles from nearest land. It's isolated. It's deafening with the birds, even when you're miles out. So maybe it looks nice, but the actual experience of being there, you can understand how poor Theodore Gussman went a bit crazy when he was here on his own. So this is your last travel increment across the ocean before you make landfall. So if someone can give me a D6 and add 0.
4. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that's bad. That's a 6.
Hey, there we go. Okay, so this is a combination of mainly from the squall the previous night, that you're still a bit wet, drained. Maybe some of the stuff on the deck that wasn't lashed down tight enough got lost overboard. So maybe a couple of barrels of water or other small, at this point fairly insignificant pieces of equipment, because you've still got 29 points in your survival pool. So that's enough to keep you going. You don't run into troubles until you get to like 0 and below. But as you are out on deck and approaching the island, one of the things that will become readily apparent is the fact that there are numerous inconsistencies with the maps around Clipperton, particularly on where it says one of the egg islands might be here, and then another one says it might be over here, and particularly the coral reefs. So if anyone's out on deck, you can give me a spot. Oh, not spot hidden. That's the wrong game. Sense trouble.
Sense trouble. Oh, that'd be me. I'm there. I'm sensing it. Let's see.
Where is sense?
How many points you gonna spend? How many points you gonna spend?
Can I?
Before the roll.
And a natural roll, I need a 5 or a 6.
You don't know the target number for this,
Oh,
because
okay.
this is a general skill.
Okay.
So the target number could be anywhere from between 2 and 8.
Sense trouble. Oh, my sense trouble's not that high. I'm just gonna roll a D6 without adding numbers to it.
Okay.
I'll add 2 to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a 3. Yeah.
I got an 8.
Okay, well, three definitely isn't going to cut it. And 8 will, because your target number was 5. You're up close towards the front of the ship, we'll say, then maybe with a pair of binoculars having a look.
See what birds are in the sky and on the sea.
It's when you look down that you suddenly realize that actually that's pretty big. As you're looking at the coral reef that you are pretty much skirting along the edge of and very nearly about to collide with.
I'm going to turn around to face where the bridge would be on the ship, and I'm going
behind you. Okay, so you turn and you start waving and pointing. The captain taking that you are pointing down at the water, knows there's something got to be down there that's got your attention. So immediately spins the wheel, and you can see that the bow of the ship starts to turn away from the direction where Malcolm's pointing. And consequently, there is only the faintest, or not quite nails racking down a chalkboard, but you can hear the of the coral scraping against the hull. But otherwise, it's minimal. It's kind of paintwork damage. There's very little else that happens there. So at which point it decides to swerve back out into deeper waters and give the island a good wide berth. He hands over to the first mate and comes down to see you at the front of the ship. Says, well, that was good that I had a good pair of eyes out there. Looks like our charts aren't exactly accurate around here.
Well, I almost didn't notice it. I was looking up into the sky, and I looked down, and I saw the reef approaching. I suppose the reefs change as time goes by.
Sharp eye, Malcolm. Goodness.
Well, gentlemen, as you're both here and you're leading this expedition jointly, have you decided where you would like us to land? From my briefing, I understand that the northeast and the southwest are the two best options. There's apparently some remains of buildings down by the southwest that it was recommended that there might be some pre-existing shelter there rather than having to pitch tents out on the open windy shore. Where would you prefer that I park, as it were?
Well, do you all agree the south? Because if we can get to those buildings first, we can claim them before the National Geographic.
Oh,
Let
definitely.
those people sit out on the beach.
Oh, completely. What's that? I hear someone throwing up. I could have sworn I heard someone sick in the back there.
Well, that's our intrepid
unfortunately,
pilot.
Richardson isn't doing so well, so Miss Lion is tending to him.
Yeah, whether they even leave the ship at this point is going to be an interesting exercise.
Well, I wasn't exactly sure why we brought a pilot along anyway. I suppose a few survey missions via air, but you know, we're here to.
Well, he might get better in the next couple of days, you know.
Well, it's possible. We're here to look at the geology and the wildlife. And
yeah,
we
can
see
always
the
call
wildlife
back to the
from
ship
here as I
if
look
we need
up
the
at
nurse.
the birds.
Be lots of bird strikes potentially.
You can see birch here. I had no idea there are so many birds.
They are just circling around and around.
Where are
Mostly in the Sula family, the boobies. But yes, if you can get us as close as possible there, and then we can take the landing boat across.
Sure. Well, in which case you maneuver around again, giving the island a good wide berth, and then slowly come around to the southwest. Now, if you're all up on deck again, if you are paying attention or, again, got binoculars out and are looking around at the island, you can give me another sense trouble roll.
Oh, yeah. Oh, darn.
I will spend 2 points.
I will not spend any.
I'm not going to spend any.
7.
I've got a 3, so I'm looking at this way.
Yeah, everything seems pretty small.
Jeez,
Can't imagine why.
Very small island.
Well, a 7 is just about good enough. That as you are coming round on the northeast shore, so where the other landing site is, very close to there is the patch of the island that was described as Green Point. That this would have been one of the entrances into the lagoon before it built up with silt and sand. So it would have connected originally to the open ocean, but now just has this discolored green patch of sand. Something on it that you can see what look to be 3, even with binoculars, it's a bit hard to tell because of the distance, but maybe 3 logs or 3 fallen palm trees, just something dark so it stands out against the sand, and long, just 3, like some notches, but not like grooves in the sand, but just 3 parallel things that are laid down in the sand.
Odd.
There's also quite a lot of
That's odd.
birds around there as well, so whatever they are, they're sitting on it or pecking on it. It's a bit hard to tell.
Strange.
Huh.
Like almost like somebody's left a signal. I wonder if there's anybody on the island. Could somebody have been stranded here?
Potentially, if the ship's gone down, because there's definitely no ships around where you are now.
There's no sign of like little smoke trail from a fire going up anywhere.
Definitely not.
It'd be a horrible place to be stranded.
With my
Well,
real keen eye.
Was
Sure,
enough to have driven a guy insane before.
Oh, but some of those stories are just blown out of proportion, I'm sure. Ghost stories.
Well,
and stuff.
maybe it is just the ghosts. I mean, everybody talks about them.
Yeah, well, people talk about all sorts of things. Fanciful.
No, you don't believe in ghosts?
Well, not really. They make great stories, though. Don't get me wrong. I like a good spooky campfire story just like the next guy. I can't wait to get ashore. Let's go, guys. Can we help pack up?
It's a form
Oh,
of war.
your enthusiasm to get on the island, you soon realise is going to have to wait a little bit. The trek round to the southwest corner of the island takes a little while, maybe about half an hour, probably no more than that. But then once they drop anchor, they explain the only way that they're going to be able to get ashore, to get close enough to the wharf, is to ferry back and forth in the 2 10-person rowboats.
Right.
Because there's a lot of equipment that they need to get over there. There's also all the camping supplies, getting the tents over and such and so on and so forth, contending with the waves that they've got to time it right for the boats to be swept on in with the quite strong currents. It takes about an hour or so to set the boats up to begin with, and then getting in, you step foot on the island without any problem, but you are then spending the whole morning going back and forth from the wharf to the ship, unloading everything, and then it's going to be hours setting the camp up.
Oh my God.
This is the laborious part of going camping, is unloading your stuff and then getting it set up.
Well, I'll happily help out with the equipment.
I'm starting to remember why I hate camping.
This is why I like my creature comforts when I go places. I definitely go to a hotel.
But I would like to be on the first boat.
Oh, same here.
So that we get to the island. Perhaps we can stay there while they go back and get more and bring it. We'll help to unload it and set it up at the same
Right.
time.
We'll do all the hard work and heavy lifting. You go look at some birds.
Oh, it's not what I said at all. Oh dear, somebody's calling me.
Commercial break.
Do you like pina coladas?
Oh yeah. Existential terror and pain, I think, was the one that was posted in the comments for the last episode. Well, they're nearly both gone. No.
I don't know if I want to encourage you to have a third or not. Would that mean we're all dead, or?
No, I don't make them. I don't make them strong. I prefer cocktails that have got flavour over kick.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's a cocktail. What does it taste like? Burning.
Suffering of souls.
Oh, there's a few I've had where it's just all booze and no mixer.
Oh yeah.
Some of them are good.
Well,
All right,
like with
I'm
a
back.
good zombie, it's got tons in it, but it's blended so well. It should be blended so well where everything's balancing each other out. It's the perfect design to put you under.
They're a party piece when I do conventions, like contingency. There's various people that just order that from me and nothing else. So yeah, I have all the rum.
Oh yeah. Either Long Islands or zombies. Those two are just scary.
Well, what we're having today are guano cuba libres.
Oh boy.
All right. So no, what I'm saying is that the three of us can stay on the island, and when they bring this stuff over, we'll help unpack, and then we'll set up.
So we'll be working. We'll just be working on shore.
We'll be
with
working,
the equipment,
right.
which is what we specialize in. That makes sense.
What's the crew complement?
It's 11, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 10
You
plus
can't even
captain.
fit 11 people in the boat.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Sind und
So-
der Kapitan? Sorry.
Yeah, that works. It'll still take hours and hours.
Yeah, it pretty much takes you right the way through until midday before it's got all of the equipment on the shore, and then it's going to be a few hours setting up the base camp, as it were. Now, anyone that's got outdoorsman?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be me, right? That's under general?
That's an investigative.
Investigate. Interpersonal, general, academic. I'm not seeing investigative. I see technical.
It's under technical.
It's
It's
under
under
technical.
So
There it
that
is.
is an investigative ability.
Academic, interpersonal, and technical are all investigative.
Got it. Oh, I don't have any. A geologist. Must
I
be
do.
one.
I have a little.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this would be what we call a 0 point spend. So this is because you have the skill. At least you've got the background to know certain things without having to spend points in it.
Okay.
This is your field experience talking of looking at the kind of equipment they've got. There's various long tents. There's like a mess tent that they've got, and the various other like between 2 and 4 person tents. You can pitch those without any problem. You've got the option that you've got plenty of palm trees, but here, or coconut trees, where you can stretch wire between them. You've also got the existing buildings here as well. The buildings are all up on stilts, so that there's a good 2, in some cases 2 or 3 foot, that separates you between the floor and then the ground itself, the sandy beach material beneath it.
That'd
Probably
be great
to
to
keep the
tie
crabs
to.
out.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason why that's one of the reasons why they're on stilts. The other reason is because when there's a very high tide, the water just washes over the whole island anyway.
Right. That's like the first thing I was going to look for was the high tide level, so that we can at least move beyond that. But if the buildings, if there's a way to sort of incorporate the buildings into our camp, and if the almanac says that we're not expecting any great high tides, conjunctions of the sun and moon, then we're fine.
Yeah, you're pretty much regular tide at the minute. If it was more hurricane season, then you'd be in for a bit more trouble because you'd be, is there a big storm coming?
Right.
But as far as all the weather, so the weather predictions are at the minute, there's nothing coming at you now.
Right.
So let me get this straight. So we've got tents and tents set up on the ground, but this atoll will be fully flooded when the inevitable high tide comes, though.
No, the high tide will come about halfway up the beach. It is a slight incline. It's sharper on the side that goes down into the lagoon itself, but it's a fairly steady rise coming up. And then likewise,
but if we had a hurricane, then we'd have a 12-foot high storm surge that would cover the island.
Yeah.
That would be get back to the ship.
You get back to the ship, get the heck out of here.
Now the Pacific Island Company site where you're looking at on the southwest shore, that has a number of buildings, but there was a hurricane that ripped through here in September 1915. So not all of the structures that are left on the island are intact. There's a handful of these structures. Maybe a couple of them have got roofs still on them.
Is the one rumored to be covered with crosses and religious writings still standing?
That one, because that was the one that Gusman was in. He was part of the old Oceanic Phosphate Company, which is on the opposite side. On the way, if you were to start walking round anti-clockwise around the island, past where the lighthouse was, and then where Clipperton Rock is, you would get to that before you got to the green point where those 3 things are laid out. So that's on the opposite side of the lagoon from where you've landed.
It's about a
could use that.
2-mile walk all the way around.
I think it's a little longer than that.
Was
I
it
think
a
it's about 2
7-mile
miles
walk?
across.
7-mile walk all the way around.
Let me get the dimensions again.
And now, but the so the cabin with the crosses is near those 3 shapes.
It's on the way to it if you were to walk anti-clockwise round. Yeah.
I wonder. Huh. Okay. Well, once we get camp set up, gonna do some.
The island is 2.6 miles wide and 1.5 miles going the other way. So it's
about a 7-mile circumference.
Yeah, about that. So it's a little bit of a walk.
All right. Yeah, that's more than a little bit of a walk.
That's quite
that's
a walk.
an all-day walk.
Especially if you go along the sand, that's going to be
Right. Hard to walk.
Yeah.
Most of it is sand.
Did we bring any kind of vehicles?
What type of vehicles would you want it to bring?
I don't know, little carts or cars or motorcycles or something.
You could probably bring carts for like dragging stuff along, like wheeled things that you'd be carrying lots of equipment in, almost like a sledge.
like
Not
dollies.
not a little car to get around.
Well, if you hop in this wheelbarrow, then Dr. Marshall and I will lift it up.
Deal.
Got to carry around a bit like a rickshaw type thing.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, let's get this all set up. See, I figured we could somewhat incorporate some of the buildings into our camp so that we can, use those as well.
Oh,
That makes it a lot quicker.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Let's do that as long as we have the elevation for the tents.
Are the buildings? The buildings aren't like crab or rat infested, are they?
Oh, having a look inside them, everything here has been pretty much stripped bare. I say the vast majority of them don't have roofs, so you'd have to sling canvas over the top of them and then peg them down outside. It doesn't appear that there's any rats that have got inside them because they're all up on stilts. Likewise, the crabs can't get up there. There are a couple of birds which are like perched on ceilings or roof beams and so on. So there is a bit of natural guano build-up around here, but that's pretty much everywhere is covered in bird shit. It's
I'm going to say that's not. It's pretty typical for this place.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting decor choice, but
Yeah, kind of like Pollock-esque. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially under all the palm trees as well, and they're just everywhere looking at you.
It's just nature.
Yeah, if sounds like you're wanting to go out and have a walk then, or at least
we don't want to leave people working, but if once things have calmed down and people are
the stuff
putting a little stuff away, then take a walk around.
Okay, if you're wanting to expedite setting the camp up, I'd say that if you want to spend a point of outdoorsman, it will give you the time. Then you'll be finished by early afternoon setting the camp up rather than mid to late afternoon, which will give you time to do a hike over to the other side of the island before it gets dark.
Okay.
Can I assist even though I don't have outdoorsmen, just to help the role maybe?
It's not a roll because investigative abilities you don't really roll for rather.
Right.
They are purely spend to get benefit.
I'll spend the 1 point. Not sure I want to walk all the way to the other side of the island, but maybe to the rock. Where how close are we to the
much closer to the rock than you are to the old other site. In fact, it's probably about less than halfway. It's about halfway actually. So you've got where you are at the Pacific Island site, halfway to the old oceanic phosphate site where that cabin with all its crosses and writing is supposed to be. The rock is about halfway there.
Okay, so about a mile and a half or or
Yeah,
so.
about that, or maybe a mile or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go there. That's where the rookeries are, and
Mhm.
I'd like to take a good look at the birds.
I'd love to accompany you just to kind of get the layout of the land, see if there's any good places to take
Well,
some
it should be
tours in.
quite interesting
Oh.
why that one big rock is the only thing sticking up out of the ocean.
Yeah, definitely want to take a look.
And I'll walk with you, but I'm gonna keep going.
You're going to keep going?
Yeah. I heard rumors of some interesting cabin I want to check out. Won't be much interest to your scientific endeavors, but I'm pretty curious.
Well,
Excellent.
don't remember, it's the first day. You don't want to wear yourself out completely. It's a long walk. But
Plus your sand.
all right.
Should we come looking for you if you don't come back within, say, 2 hours?
Well, looking for me, you just pull out your binoculars and you scan.
It's not like you can get lost. It's
Yeah, good.
It's a circle.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. It's a flat circle. I'd be impressed if somebody managed to get lost on this thing.
One might even call it a cerulean halo.
Well, enough. It is a blue halo out in the
Blue
ocean.
halo in the middle of the ocean, right?
That's an odd choice of words, but I like it. Very poetic.
Right, wandering around then. You leave the team as particularly they're impressed that they've got everything set up so quickly, and also importantly the fact that they've set up the mess tent, so the cook is about to start cooking an early dinner.
Excellent.
So yeah, they're going to be able to start having one of the best meals they're going to have had for a while, and it's on the ground that isn't rocking back and forth beneath their feet. So yeah, the crew is in good spirits at this time. You trudge off, leaving them behind you. And it takes a little while to get round to Clipperton Rock, and it is the major landmark on the island. Now, there used to be the lighthouse on top of it. That is no longer the case. There is a concrete base that's left of the foundations, and then a concrete cone which comes out of the middle of that, from which the French flag then flies proudly on a flagpole. The flag's a little tattered. It's been out here for a few years in quite high winds. Normal, just falling apart, and sort of degradation has taken place.
And is there like a stairway up to where the lighthouse would have been?
Yeah, there's, looking at the place, which happily is pictured right behind us, you can see that there is lots of natural stepping stones to get up there, but there is a dedicated pathway which has been put up one side where you can get to the lighthouse. And there are the remains of what were the storage huts and so on, and the lighthouse keeper's hut down on the ground, the base of the rock, but they've a little bit more to reduce to ruins at this point, so there's nothing really of any note there. Your geologist, if you want to give me a point of geology spend, I can give you some information about the formation.
Oh, yes, please. I'm going to do that happily.
Okay. So this was originally, the whole island was a seamount that was pushed up above the waterline. As described, it's trachyte and so on. So looking at the formation of the rock and how it stands, you are fairly sure that, I mean, this is something that happened eons ago, that the top of the mountain, the seamount, exploded, and this must have been a huge seismic event to have made the mountainous volcano literally blow up and leave nothing above the waterline apart from this one fine shard that's left on the corner, giving a hint that it was originally a much taller construction. Well, not construction, taller formation.
Yeah.
And yeah, as mentioned before previously, this must have happened so long ago that as the seabed is just this rolling conveyor belt that's heading further and further east, this was originally much further west when this kicked off. But thinking of the age, there's not really any seismic event that you can think of that there's been much other evidence to show of that's this old. It may be that other such volcanoes did explode at that time, but they're probably way beneath the waterline and may haven't even been found yet. So this is an interesting little relic of some hitherto unknown massive seismic event.
Yeah, I want to be taking samples all the way. Anything that looks maybe as I go, maybe every 100 to 300 feet, I'd like to take a little sample, soil and rock, mineral.
Yeah, easy enough to do. The huge congregation of birds just sits down and kind of look at you, keeping their nests to themselves. Their nests are built out of guano and other like twigs and leaves, or what's left of palm leaves and such that have started to fall apart. But mostly guano is the key material that their nests are made from.
Yes, most people think, nests are made out of twigs, but the boobies make theirs mostly out of their own poop.
Indeed.
It's like cement.
Oh, it solidifies pretty hard.
And so you can imagine if there were literally hundreds of thousands of years of this built up, that they could use it as a source for guano mines. But alas, it's a limited resource, one that can be used up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there are certainly relics of the guano mining operation that you pass, scattered all over the island. The shovels, picks, wheelbarrows, all of which have all rusted to hell and back.
Right.
So there's no usable equipment, but there's just, say, the relics and detritus that's been left behind by the old mining companies.
All done by hand because of the terrain. Impossible to use any kind of machinery for this.
Yep. The closest you can see to machinery is that there are rail tracks that go up and down the wharf, again, all rusted, that were used to push carts along the rails to when they were then loaded onto boats and then went back out to large boats at sea.
Right.
Does anyone else want to use any other abilities while they are here?
Well, I'm probably driving Dr. Marshall crazy because I keep pointing at birds and calling out their scientific names and distinguishing male from female. And
I'm mildly interested in it. I mean, I'm mostly interested in the Earth, but
and have we seen any Jungarthia planata, the Clipperton crabs? I'm sure
they are everywhere. They try to scuttle out of your way when they see big human coming, but otherwise they are much slower moving than birds. Some of them, if you stand still and you are sort of taking in the view, some of them are a little bit inquisitive. They'll start kind of pecking or clipping at your boots, but they're not a threat. Definitely, they're more of a slight annoyance.
They don't have any instinct for danger against humans because humans don't naturally occur out here. There's been literally generations of birds and crabs that have never seen a human being. I have no idea what's going on. It's very interesting. There's some strange, rather unusual birds out here. The Gygus alba, most of these up here that are flying, the terns, and lots of frigate birds. Frigate birds are very common, but mostly the brown boobies and the noddies, the brown noddies. Anois stolidus. So can I use my biology to see if I notice anything unusual about the life forms that I'm encountering?
You can, except this case, one of the best options is more outdoorsman than biology.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Do I spend a point?
Well, this is a core clue. So at the minute, it's not got a cost. But if you want to spend any more, there might be some more things you find out.
Well, I only have one more point. Why not? I'll spend it. And do I roll then?
No, you don't roll. It's just you get more information.
All right.
So your core spend is, as you're looking around, you're looking for signs of, say, more birds or different birds that shouldn't be here, and then looking around at the crabs, looking down at the ground. And then you realize that you're stood about a foot away from a footprint that's in the sand. And you realize that then as you're looking along the path, as you're going that way, this is something that's gone across from you, so perpendicular to yours. They're fairly fresh prints. You think probably about 2 days old at most. And as you're looking more at them, you realize that following the line going to your right, which takes you down to the shore, these footprints go out into the waves. That someone walked out of the ocean up the sandy part of this to the rock, and then following them off to your left have gone round the corner and out of sight to another part of the rock that you can't see from here. The thing that also you gain from your one extra point spend, you're fairly sure that they're slightly larger than human and they're webbed. This would be an example of a stability check. So this is, if you think of it as equivalent of a sand check in Call of Cthulhu, you have your stability pool representing your short-term, how are you keeping it together? Now, this is a defined target number, so you would always know what the target is. If it's a normal, something that would normally mundanely scare you, like maybe seeing a dead body or seeing someone get shot, that kind of thing, that would be a target number of 4. This is a mythos, or something that has originated in the mythos. Therefore, the target number is 5. But you don't know how many points you would potentially lose if you fail the roll. So it becomes a bit of a gamble. Do you want to potentially risk spending points of your stability to meet the target number and therefore not take a big loss? Or do you want to just gamble and roll it and then maybe think, well, I might only have a small point of loss? It's all determined. The number or the graduation of the loss is dependent on what stimuli you're being subjected to. Right. So seeing something like this would not be as bad as seeing a monster or seeing a god. It's a fairly minor thing.
Right. I'm just going to roll.
Okay. So your target number is 5.
I got a 5.
Okay. At which point, nothing lost because you passed the roll.
And I say, Dr. Marshall, are these footprints
fascinating?
But they're not human.
What's that? Oh, that's probably Beverly. She went up ahead.
No. This comes from the water and crosses over here in front of the rock and up and over and then off into over there.
Maybe it's a little pup seal or something. Let's take a look. What are you looking at? I'll go over and take a look and see what the heck it's about.
Someone, I don't even know if they had those flipper fins for scuba diving yet or anything.
Well, as we learned in the comments from the last episode, I thought it wasn't until the Second World War when it was really developed. Right. It was 1942. But I think flippers would have been around because you can still just have snorkeling and still swimming with them.
Do you think some sort of form-fitting shoe with webbed for swimming? Because it's come from the ocean there, you see.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right, huh? It doesn't. I wonder if that's some sort of animal or something or other.
But I can't think of. I'm not a biologist. I know my animals.
Yes.
And are you saying it comes from the ocean and crosses the rock and then goes towards the lagoon?
Well, it goes towards the lagoon to a point, but then it veers off and starts to follow around the other side of the rock. So it's imagine like someone going around a wall. It's just you can't see where it goes.
The rock. It's going around the rock. I would like to see if I can. I hope it's not a large animal.
Do I see it now, or do I take a sand check as well?
If you've had it pointed out to you, but because you haven't got the outdoorsman skill, this thankfully shields you from the fact you don't realize the implication of that this is some kind of webbed-footed thing rather than being just a pair of flippers.
Oh yeah, they exist. Yeah, it's probably just a big, tropical penguin.
Well, in any case, there's somebody else out here with us.
Somebody? Well, okay. Looks kind of like an animal to me.
Let's see if we can move around the rock where that is. I was going to go up to the lighthouse spot, but let's follow this instead.
Okay, sure. Here, so I'll just take the couple of samples that I got, and like, okay, I'll check this out. Why not? We got time.
As I recall, the rock is about 95 feet high, and
Yeah.
How big around is it? I mean, it's not like even if I left him here and we went walking around in different parts of the rock, we could lose each other.
No, it's not that big.
It's not that big.
Yeah, well, let's stick together. I mean, somebody could twist an ankle in this easily. So
Right. There could be holes in this thing too, for all we know.
We'll stick it out. We'll be the tag team. I'm fine with that. That makes sense.
Yeah, the numbers on it: 300 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 70 feet high.
Oh, wow, so this is like a football field, a giant.
Yeah, it's long but thin.
Yeah.
Well, let's move around towards that side.
Okay.
See if there's anything.
In which case, then you lose sight of Beverly completely. She's just, say, trekking on, having said, I'm going past the rock and making her way over to the other side.
Yeah.
You get round onto the lagoon side of the rock, so there's still a bit of sandy grass. There's sand with a bit of long grass that then gently arcs down towards the lagoon itself, which is green with algae and lots of, I can't remember what they call it, not like kelp, but general
seagrass.
Growth under the water.
Right.
So lots of reeds and so on. The footprints go towards what looks to be the opening to a cave that's on this side. Now, as also the good geologists here will know, that because this was is a volcanic structure, there's almost certainly going to be lava flows, vents, and so on all the way through this. So this might be honeycombed with tunnels and caves.
Oh yeah. Is this extinct or just dormant, or do we know?
Oh, very, 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 very extinct.
Very extinct. Okay. Good. Good.
So you can see the footprints go into this, but then also they come out again and go the other way round the rock.
Huh.
So they went in the cave and then came out again.
Wonder if there's anything in the cave.
These big tropical penguins sure are busy around here. You want to go into the cave and try to check it out? We still have a little bit of light, I think, right?
You got a few hours.
Yeah. Does it look like a deep cave?
Well, if you get close enough to it and then poke your head inside, it's the door. Well, not doorway. The opening to the cave is about the size of your average garage door.
Right.
So it's fairly wide, about maybe 8 foot tall. And the cave in its entirety goes back about 10 feet.
Okay. I'll go in. I don't want to go into the dark, but if there's enough light coming through the doorway to 20 feet in or so, and if it's, I don't want to go any farther than that.
Well, 20 feet would take you through right the way out on the other side.
Right. So
this takes you about halfway in, so it is quite a big chunk that's been taken out. Most of that area is blocked by there's a large, roughly spherical boulder. Doesn't look to be of the same rock of the mound around it, but probably more like the bedrock of the island much farther down. The footprints go up to this boulder, and then there's a lot of shifting around and moving, as if they've rolled this thing that's easily about 6 to 8 feet across, rolled it out the way, and then rolled it back again after having gone through something on the other side. That looking over it, you can see there is the very thinnest impression that there is probably a tunnel, one of those vents on the other side that this thing is blocking the way through to.
What on earth?
Yeah, this doesn't look like penguins to me anymore.
Somebody's living here.
Yeah, but this is a huge rock. It would take more than one person to move this. This is like half the size of a car.
Oh, unless they have a lever of some sort. As Archimedes said, give me a lever and I could move the world.
But look at the ground around here, though. I mean, it's not torn up or anything, right? It's mostly undisturbed ground.
Just the footprints.
Yeah. So if you're using a lever, this ground's going to be torn up a lot by moving this. But it's just sitting there.
Let's see then if we can. The prints look fresh. Yes.
2 days, you think?
Yeah, you said sand, so.
Yeah, in sand they would fade quickly. So this has got to be fresh, and they've got to be good-sized creatures or people or whatever.
I'm not thinking perhaps we shouldn't have left Beverly to go off on her own.
Well, it's a person. At worst, it's somebody who's marooned here who has their stash of something, and they'll be happy to see us.
Let's climb up to the top of the rock and see if we can see where Beverly's gone, and then if we can catch up to her, we can at least warn her and get back to camp before it gets dark, in case there is some creature that we are not aware of. This is the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the ocean.
Sure.
The ocean's relatively unexplored.
But before you move on, I just try to kind of get myself in between the wall and the rock and just give it like a real good heave to see if the thing budges at all.
Minutely, to say the least, or at most rather. You reckon, having put your full weight into trying to move this thing, you're going to need at least 5 people to attempt to do it. And even then, you think it would probably be best if you were to set up some kind of rope and pulley system or lever to try and get this thing moving. But even so, it's going to be 5 people minimum to put the strength in to do this. It's what's known as a cooperative test. So you need pulls from a minimum of 5 people to help make this thing move.
Well, we can tonight at dinner we'll talk about this. Maybe a couple people from the crew can help us tomorrow. We have plenty of light.
Beverly wants a story.
Yeah, this sure is a good one.
Wasn't there a legend about pirate treasure being hidden here somewhere? Oh, geez, I said pirate. Keep making fun of me because of my pirate thing, but
no, you might be onto something, Malcolm. Well, let's get Beverly. This is right up your alley.
Find Beverly, yes.
All right, well, if you climbed up to the top where the lighthouse was, you can at this point just about catch sight of Beverly reaching the old site, where there's only really about 2-3 huts which are left, and yeah, it's a fairly lonely place, and it looks like she's having a look at the huts around here. So we'll cut to Beverly for a little bit,
and we're gonna then walk on the beach towards where she is.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, let's look here. The empty remains. There's 2 stilted wooden huts that are left there. So again, very similar in style to the ones down where you've landed, but evidently much older. Only one of them has a roof left on it. Door is still intact. The steps up to it, a couple of them have snapped away, so it's got a long lunge and then pull yourself up to get inside. The other one of the walls has given way on it, and again, there's bits and pieces of equipment which are left rusted around here, and a carpet of crabs all around you, but doesn't look to be any sign of any of them that have got into the buildings.
Okay, so I'll take a look at both of them.
Okay.
I'm trying to find that one cabin I've heard the ghost stories about. So.
Right, the one that still has, or that hasn't got a roof and is open on one side, you can see that's been in a pretty poor state of repair for a long time. So if anyone was trying to hide out in there, away from the elements, away from the birds and such, it's pointless. You might as well just sit on a rock out on the beach. It would provide just as much protection. So the one that's still got a roof and looks to be more intact would be the one that you'd think it would naturally be.
Okay.
Hop up and pull yourself up to the landing, opening the door wide. And the little bit of light that comes in through here, because the windows are shuttered down, is pretty much coming just through the door with your shadow casting out long ahead of you. You can see that there's, again, detritus on the floor here, remains of bits of clothing, bits of equipment, so shafts for shovels and pickaxes, their handles. But as your eyes start to get more accustomed to the light, you can see crosses, hundreds of them, all carved into the woods to varying depths and varying crudeness. And they are everywhere. The floor, the ceiling, the walls. It's almost something that would imply this was the work of a madman that's done this. As you look around, taking in more of the site, you can see there's the remains of what was probably a bed at some point, or a mattress that's tucked up in the corner. Little more than a sack that's been filled full of what looks to be other bits of clothing and other makeshift soft goods that will make it into a comfortable bed. And above that on the wall, something is sticking out of the wood, which when you get a bit closer, you can see there's a glint off part of it of metal. And it looks like a penknife with the initials TG carved into the handle. And it's stuck into the, what looks to be the bullet, kind of the full stop of an exclamation mark in a run of letters. Now, I believe you can read German, yes?
I can read German as a character, not as a player.
I can do German as a player for a short while. Then I have to order some beers anyway. But it translates.
But my eyes are toward you, O God, my Lord. In you I seek refuge. Leave me not defenseless.
Do you have any theology?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me check. My character is religious, but I don't have any points of theology.
Okay, we'll give it halfway then, because you have at least a religious bent. You recognize it as one of the psalms. It's just that you can't pick, you can't identify which one it is, but you know it's a psalm.
Are there any more of them in here, or is this the only one?
It is just that one. That's the only written text that you can see.
Well, I'm going to take a picture of this place.
Yeah, I mean,
rifle around. I mean, did he leave any journals or anything behind, or did he take all that stuff with him when he was rescued? It's all just his old moldy bedding.
Everything that's been left behind is all the stuff that is not valuable.
Okay.
That type. If he did have a journal, it would almost certainly have gone with him when he finally
did live.
left.
So
yeah, because you know he made it to Cabo San Lucas at very least on his way up to San Diego.
Well, I guess if he was worried about something, this might have helped. I'm sure it helped. Couldn't have been bad, but
yeah, getting shots here in terms of photography. It is pretty dark. You try get a few views from the doorway, which is where the main light is coming through from. Then looking in, but it's going to be a lot of shadow.
Yeah, an opening because there's shuttered windows.
Yeah, there are. If you want to try, yeah, if you prise them open, then you've got a lot more light that comes in. Then you can easily start taking some shots here. So it's about that time then, as you've started prying them open. You've taken probably half a dozen shots here, kind of interior, exterior, and having a good look around there. And that's about the time when your good Dr. White and Dr. Marshall will have worked their way over from the rock.
Everly, are you here?
Yeah, I'm in here.
Oh, she's in here. Let's see. Beverly, we just thought we'd catch up to you. We found something very strange.
Oh. Stranger than this?
Oh my. Wow. I'd say so. I'd say we found the prints of some large sea creature that seemed to have crossed the beach, gone into a cave at the rock. There's a large round rock. Looks like it's put there to block a tunnel.
What did strange prints?
Like a human, but much larger and with webbed toes.
No.
Yeah, almost
Like someone was wearing some sort
moving,
of a shoe.
I'm moving past you and I'm hopping down and I'm scrambling back towards the rock as fast as I can.
But we do need to get back. She's running. Oh my god!
It's good. It's going to be dark in like an hour, Beverly.
We got to go back that anyway. Anyways,
That would indeed be going back in the direction of camp.
right.
If you head back to the rock, you're not sure you're gonna. If you wanted to go up to Greenpoint to see what those three things were laying in the sand, that's going to be tight to get there before it gets dark.
Do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
Mhm.
Let's catch up with Beverly. Don't want her getting stuck up there.
Mm-hmm.
These damn crabs keep getting in my way. I got places to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having had it described, you can find the trail that comes round as if where it was coming out of the cave and then back round and then across the sand again. You evidently missed it when you went across it because there were so many crabs here. But yeah, now that you come back, you find some very distinctive footprints.
I'm taking photos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, they're about 2 days old. So there's not been that much in terms of weather apart from the squall that was, say, out to sea anyway. So a lot of these are still very well defined, very well shaped and outlined in the sand. You can get a good half a dozen photos of these, and they are good quality photos.
I knew there were more of them.
If we can get plaster of Paris, we can make a mold of the foot so that we can see it in 3 dimensions. You think you know what this is?
Have you ever heard of a little town called Innsmouth?
Innsmouth. Where is that?
In Massachusetts.
Huh.
There's a bus. You can get there from Arkham.
Well, I've actually heard reference to people with the Innsmouth look.
No, so I had heard the same thing, but I had a contact in the Navy say they rounded up a bunch of people from Innsmouth, and they put them in these camps, these prison camps.
Right.
And I looked at I had to see for myself, and what I saw there, these people are keeping there. It might sound crazy, but I mean, look at these footprints. They were half human, half fish, half frog, half something else. They were not.
Oh, Beverly.
But that's thousands of miles from here. Are you suggesting?
But there's rumors of these things all over the world if you know where to look.
Are you seriously trying to tell me that there's fish people?
Yes, it's the government's covering it up.
And you find it hard for me when I speak of pirates, but you speak of fish people, like mermaids.
Okay, where are your pirates? We look at these footprints.
It could be from like maybe some sort of sea creature that hasn't been logged yet. I mean, this is a remote atoll.
A tropical penguin, like Carl said.
No, look, they go somewhere.
They go to the rock with the tunnel.
Well, with the 3 of us, do you want to give it a go? See if we can try moving it?
Oh, I think we should wait until morning. We're going to get stuck in the dark.
Yeah, you're right. We should go back and get dinner and set up for expedition tomorrow, good and early.
We can get some of the men to help us move the rock. Remember, there's also there's supposed to be pirate treasure hidden here somewhere too.
I'm sure there's going to be a much more marvelous discovery. If these footprints are what I think they are, then
I'll see
forget
if
your
I can
pirate
get some.
treasure.
I'll see if we've got some plaster of Paris somewhere on the ship.
Yeah, you can have that.
See, Providence has just rained down plaster of Paris on my head because I wanted it. Yeah. So let's get back.
Okay, you get back and it's starting to get to for a very late afternoon by now. So it's not the sun hasn't gone down, but it's definitely getting close to the horizon. And as you get back, the dinner's being served as you arrive. So there's nice steaming bowls of stew. So there's bread. It's a good old hearty meal, and you can say there's room to talk amongst the crew. If you wanted to have a chat with your resident volcanologist and your other photographer who's joined you from the university, they're there to have drinks too. There's plenty of time to kill. A nice, cozy, friendly manner. One thing you do notice, particularly as people start to finish dinner, those are the crew that finish first. They immediately start to get to work as the sun's reached the horizon by this point, starting to set up campfires that are on the periphery of the camp, as well as one big one in the middle. So there's plenty of seating area around the big campfire, but then also these ones that they've dotted around on the periphery, there's a good half a dozen of them. So they do a good circuit around the camp, because they've already mentioned about rats that would be able that will come out at night. So these will be to fend off creatures when the sun goes down.
Perfect. I'll check on my equipment just to make sure it's all in order, and then come back to join the others at the fire.
Yeah, all here and all working fine.
Now then, I'm sure many of you have been sailors for many, many years, and you've heard many, many tales of the sea, and you've told some of them to us on the way here.
Mm-hmm.
We're very curious about something that we discovered today, and we would like a few of you to assist us. I'm going to choose to tell them that there's an old legend about a pirate treasure that may be buried here, and we seem to have found what looks like a rock blocking a tunnel. Would you like to help us move the rock tomorrow? I'm not mentioning anything about giant sea creatures because I know that sailors are freaking superstitious.
Oh, yes. The mention of treasure, everyone's eyes kind of open wide and every hand goes up. But yeah, and you need help. They're going to give it to you tomorrow. That's
Excellent.
Not a problem.
Excellent.
Some of them do ask a few questions about the logistics of the kind of rock that they want you to move. And after there's kind of 5 or 10 minutes of batting around ideas, they think it's probably going to be best if they set up some kind of rig or pulley to help. So that will take time, but overall will be the better way of moving the thing.
Right.
So they start to think about designs and trying to gather. They'll gather equipment in the morning, because at this point it's pretty much pitch black outside. And as the lights go on, as they start to light up those periphery campfires, even above the sound of the waves crashing against the ocean, crashing against the shore, and the birds finally starting to go quiet, because birds tend to go to sleep when the sun goes down. There is just rustling beyond the fire, and almost as if the darkness moves in just this black rippling of fur that goes off until finally it becomes complete darkness. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of rats that are out there.
Jeez.
Are they staying out of the light?
They're on the very edge of the light because they will not come anywhere near it. They only come out at night, generally on the island. They're fairly nocturnal, and the light is what's keeping them away. So you can just about catch the faint hint of moving fur and tail, and maybe the occasional glint of reflecting off their eyes. but that's it. They do not come close, that close to the camp.
Well, that's just sickening.
That's good.
Perhaps we should move up into the building there instead of sleeping in the tent.
I hope she has plenty of tetanus shots available or rabies.
Well, there's been a few moments of projectile vomiting after someone tried to take a bowl of stew up to your pilot, only to then find it flying through the air after he tried to keep it down. So yeah, his stomach is really not doing well.
Well,
Poor Peter.
if they keep the fires going, we'll be all right.
Is there plenty of fuel for the fire, or is that in question, or is it cutting it close, or is there plenty?
With 29 points still in your survival pool, you are fine. At the minute, you still have pretty much your full complement of on-island equipment and supplies. So this is only your first night. You've got enough stuff to keep you going for a week.
Okay.
Well, it was quite a day, so let's try to go to bed early and get up and move that rock.
Sounds good.
Indeed, that sounds like a good plan.
The boat wouldn't have any rat poison, would it? For dealing with rats on board ships?
Small amounts, not huge amount. Certainly not enough to make a dent in the rat population here.
Got it.
Not enough to wage biochemical warfare against the vermin.
Yeah. Okay, so you sound like you all want to get an early night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
In which case then, it's much easier to sleep during the night rather than trying to catch any kind of wink of sleep during the day, because birds, it's going to be almost impossible during the day. But at night, when it's quiet, even the occasional squawk, as some of them get disturbed in trees by the crew as they're out moving around, particularly those that are doing the periphery sweep and totting up the fires on the outskirts. You gently drift off to sleep. Can I have a sense trouble roll from everyone, please? Now, bear in mind that you're awake. The target number is you're not awake, rather you are asleep. The target number is going to be much higher than if you were awake.
So we can spend the points and add them to our roll.
That's right. Before you roll.
Oh,
Yeah,
and I
think
gain.
I'll spend 2 points.
And
8.
Since, yeah, I'll do 2. 4.
Okay.
I'm just gonna roll 6.
Okay, so 2 of you wake up then. Looks like Dr. Marshall, you're actually spared this one. So you are gently snoring away, completely oblivious and getting a good night's rest. But you're not too sure what it is that wakes you. Maybe it's the sound of one of the crew walking around, maybe a little too close to your hammock, position between 2 trees, or maybe it's as you turn over maybe the wooden floorboard of one of the huts that you're using as a place to sleep creaks and cracks. But you wake up with not a jolt, but definitely you wake up with a sudden realization that it's not morning, but also that something's out of place. That, sometimes people say that they get that feeling that you're being watched. Yeah, you've got that feeling. And looking around, none of the crew are paying you that close attention. There's no one else here that's looking at you. But you have a distinct feeling that eyes have turned their attention towards you, and that they are looking at you from somewhere out to sea. That somewhere in the waves, someone or something is watching you. That will prompt a stability check, please. So again, your target number is 5. So do you want to spend any points of stability to help make the roll, or are you just willing to gamble that because it's just a uneasy feeling that it might be a fairly small stability loss if you fail?
I'm just gonna gamble with it. No points. A 3 is not a 5, so
Okay. And Dr. Wyatt? You're muted.
I got a 5.
Okay, you're fine then. So nothing
So
happens
what
there.
I do, because I thought about this, I wake up in the middle of the night anyway. I get up and I hop down to the ground, and I move. I'm not going to move out of the light, but I'm going to move out to wherever we've been relieving ourselves and take a pee.
Yeah, there's a latrine that you've got set up, so that's not a problem.
Right.
Beginning to smell a little bit because everyone's gone through it after dinner, but hey. But yeah, for Beverly having lost, that's 2 points of stability that cross off. And Dr. Marshall sleeps through the whole thing.
Now I'm just awake and I'm just staring out at the ocean.
The only thing that you can see out there, apart from just illimitable black, because it's still fairly heavy cloud cover and not even the stars, not even the moon is shining through here, you occasionally see the lights that are hung on the railings of the Amphitrite, the ship that you came in on, that's anchored out to sea, roughly in that kind of general direction that you've got this feeling coming from.
So as I'm climbing back up inside, I notice Beverly sitting there, and I'm like, having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, something seems off.
I'll admit I also woke up for a similar reason. I suppose we're in such a strange environment. It's like the sea is judging us. I don't know. But best to try to get back to sleep.
Right. I mean, we do have a rock to move tomorrow.
Yes, and discoveries to make. So I'm going to curl back up and probably fall right back asleep.
Okay.
And I'm going to definitely not do that because I just lost 2 points of stability.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little freaked out.
Yeah, you'll probably stood or sat there for a while. Maybe even the rest of the night. So, morning comes round. Beverly is still a little wired from fear. Dr. Marshall, you had a great night. Hammocks are wonderful.
Great fresh air. This is great.
Likewise. Yeah. Oh yeah, so the cook's up at the crack of dawn. It's starting to make up breakfast. So lots bits of porridge, sort of sausage, bacon, normal good old breakfast food. The captain's up very much at the same time. Dr. Wyatt's up not too long after that. Beverly, yeah, you see everyone get up. One of the first things the captain does when he does wake up is that he wakes up two of the other crew members, and basically you can hear him give them orders. Do a quick paddle out to the ship. Just make sure that everything's being fine out there in the middle of the night because no one's on board. Everyone at this point is on the shore because it's much easier or much what's the word I'm looking for? Much more comfortable to camp out here than it is to be on a pitching, rolling ship in the middle of the night. So you can see that two of the guys go over to one of the two long 10-man boats, and they start to paddle. It's going to take them a little while because it's just two of them going, but almost like a canoe. They're going to start to fight against the waves, and they will start heading out towards the ship. Meanwhile, breakfast is served. It's all good.
I will do my best to focus on the porridge, not on the fact that those two guys are rowing to where I felt like I was being watched from,
Mm-hmm.
I am going to finish my porridge rather quickly and gather up my plaster of Paris and stuff and walk out to the rock before anybody else does.
Yeah, I'll head out with you, Malcolm. I want to get some of the samples closer to the base of the rock. I didn't have a chance yesterday because we were following those tracks.
And as we're walking, I'm like, I kind of want to get the sample and then erase the tracks because I'm afraid our sailors will be quite disturbed.
Especially with you just walking around, you could easily trample them up without too much difficulty.
Exactly.
Yeah, that might be the best thing.
Is Beverly going along, or are you staying at the camp?
I probably don't even notice them walk off. I'm a little preoccupied at the moment.
Okay.
Kind of watching the people.
Yeah.
My breakfast, watching the people rowing towards what I'm very worried about. Back to breakfast, anxiety of the people rowing. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. So you're taking quite a while to eat breakfast then. So, your little kind of montage sequence here then is looking down at the bowl, taking half a spoonful of porridge, looking back out to sea. Yeah, they're about halfway there, and then
sipping some coffee.
Yeah, probably about a couple of gulpfuls of coffee, still porridge sat in the bowl. Yeah, they're almost at the ship now, and then getting another cup of coffee, and yeah, you can see them climbing on board, and then yeah, you can see them again. One of the crews next to you, maybe slightly more portly than some of the other ones, saying, "Are you going to eat the rest of the porridge?" As he's got his own empty bowl next to him.
I'll just slide it over without saying anything and look back at the ship.
Yeah, you can see the two guys. They're not dots on the horizon because the ship is only a little way out, but you can see them running back towards their longboat now, and then jumping into the longboat and starting to paddle frantically back towards the shore with a degree of urgency.
Captain.
Yeah, he looks up from one end of the table as he's discussing what seems to be like plan of maintenance of all the equipment. But he turns over to you. Yes, Miss Reeve?
There seems to be a problem.
Okay, he turns and looks out towards the ocean. Kind of pulls out a long or extendable telescope, which he then puts up, and immediately calls over to his first mate, says, "Yeah, Worf," and gestures, "Do you wish to join us?"
Sure.
Okay, in which case, the three of you head out towards the wharf, and then meet the ship a few minutes, or the boat rather, coming in a few minutes later. And the first guy gets off the boat and just says, "Captain, we found some pretty disturbing stuff over at the ship. It looks like we've been boarded in the middle of the night. There's kind of marks in the wood that looks like some kind of grappling hooks being used to climb up, and it looks like the entrance to the hold and the quarters. They've used grappling hooks to try and rip open the doors. We don't think there's anyone on board, but we've definitely been boarded." And yeah, the captain is quite concerned at this. Says, "Well, I want to see this myself." And obviously, the first mate jumps in the boat and turns around to you. Do you wish to accompany us to get some photos?
Oh yes.
Okay. So as Dr. Malcolm and Dr. Wyatt and Dr. Marshall are kind of frantically stepping over lots of the prints, you are fairly sure after maybe a good half an hour that you've got all of them. So there's no evidence left of it. About that time is when the boat reaches the ship, the Amphitrite, and Beverly can see, as they're pointed out by the two members of the crew that went over there, that there are 5 parallel gouges in the wood, or as if something had clawed its way down the wood. Yeah, again, looking somewhat familiar in their spacing, their depth, and how they've cut through wood. And it looks like they've tried to crack open the doors to the hold, the crew quarters, and they are just saying, "Yep, there's evidently signs of kind of a multi-grappling hook." And the captain seems almost oblivious to the fact that they look like claw marks, but is obviously agreeing with them to say, "Yeah, it looks like we've been boarded, but Well, thankfully, all the major equipment is all off on shore, so it looks like we're going to have to keep a guard on the site by the look of it.
Do we have the rifles on shore, or are they on the ship?
No, all the working equipment. This is the captain speaking. All the working equipment has been taken over there because we don't intend anyone to remain on the ship while it's anchored. So no, everything of use is back over there.
Well, I thought Wyatt's talk of pirates is a little ridiculous, but
well, if there are pirates out here, they're keeping their distance because I can't see any sails out here. Can you? And there is just horizon going all around.
is there a sense of, so I'm seeing them as claw marks.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a pair of them? So like one thing has come aboard. Is there 4 sets? Like 2 of them have come aboard?
You are fairly sure that it looks like there are 2 sets of 2, so 4 distinct groups of 5. So 2 of these things came out of the water, clambered their way up the side of the ship, and then started to look around to see if anyone was on board. That's how you're reading it. And because of that, you can also give me a stability check.
I'm going to spend a point.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Good thing I spent that point.
And you roll a 4 then.
5. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just the 1 point you've spent, and you don't lose anything else. So that's where the gamble comes in. Even if you spend points to hit 5, and if you don't hit 5, you then yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then at which point, then, with nothing else to see, the captain orders the boat to head back to the shore. Quick question then from Dr. Wyatt was, did you make your casting? You could have made a cast of any of them that you wanted before you started to destroy all the evidence. So that again, problem.
Whichever one was the best looking one, the clearest and most distinct one.
Yeah, you get a nice, what you think is a left foot imprint. How it's imprinted, it takes a little while to dry, but then when you pull the casting up, you think you're looking at some kind of humanoid creature. At least it's definitely bipedal, so it walks on 2 legs. Probably somewhere in the region of 7 foot tall. So yeah, it's pretty
fairly
big.
Heavy. I can probably guesstimate the weight from the depth of the impression.
Yeah,
it's big, whatever it is.
That's extraordinary.
Bigger than one of us.
So you mean to tell me that what Beverly was talking about last night might actually have some substance to it?
Well,
just some sensational
there have been legends throughout the world of strange creatures. This is probably just one of them, perhaps mistaken for a mermaid or a fish man, but whatever it is, it definitely exists here. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if we should be harming its environment. It seems like they're probably incredibly rare creatures, and if we've stumbled across where one lives or a couple, I don't know if it would be scientifically having a crew treasure hunting is going to disrupt their lair. That's not good for what we do, Malcolm.
Well, perhaps, but nothing is so rare that there's only one of them. There has to be a viable ecosystem, so there must be more than one of them. I don't see that we can handle anything that comes up. For all, there are more of us than there are of it, whatever it is.
I just don't want to see the thing hurt. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, of course I don't want
fine.
to see it. Perhaps we can capture it and take it back with us. We are here to collect specimens. For all. At least some photography of it. And I've got the plaster cast now, so.
Oh, this would win Beverly a Pulitzer Prize. Clearly.
Well, or perhaps a stint at some crazy magazine that puts stuff out. Who would believe it? Fate magazine, maybe. um, let's walk our way back, and they should
Guide them here.
probably be assembling. Yeah.
You arrive again as the crew have assembled. As you're saying, they're eager to go over and try and dig up some treasure. It's probably about another few minutes before the captain comes back with Beverly, the first mate, and the other two crew. But you can see them rowing back towards the wharf in their longboat. Of course, then the captain comes back, eagerly walking down the wharf, and quickly addresses the rest of the crew. So, if I could just grab everyone's attention for a moment. It looks like we had someone board the ship in the middle of the night. So I'm going to start issuing guards to be set up here, keeping an eye on our equipment, as well as keeping an eye on the ship. So at that point, he descends into to basically setting up a rota of 2 people always on guard around the area. Your volcanologist, Dr. Bailey, is a little bit shocked by this. So Irvin, the photographer, is kind of eager, thinking, "Oh, there's a bit of a story here. It's not just going to be a boring expedition after all."
Beverly, you said they were like claw marks?
2 sets of claw marks. Parallel sets of 5.
Let me show you the foot. There'll be 2. And I make sure nobody else can see this, but I'm going to show her the plaster cast. I see. You can see it's quite articulate. These are definitely monster feet.
This is absolutely extraordinary. I didn't believe you at first, but my God.
I think we should perhaps make sure they have the rifles. I estimate these things are at least 7 feet. 7 feet tall, perhaps 300 pounds, whatever they are.
What makes you think they're aggressive? What were the stories you heard, Beverly?
They boarded our ship. Look, they were locked up. The government rounded the ones up in Innsmouth and locked them away. I don't know why they would have done that. I just know that they did. But they got onto our ship. They tried to get inside.
So they're very intelligent.
Maybe they're just curious, but I don't know.
If not them, then there's something very much like them. We're in a completely different ocean. We're in a completely different climate. The cold Atlantic versus the South Seas. Surely such a creature that lives up there wouldn't live all the way down here in the South Seas, but there's definitely something. We have more than ample evidence to show there's something. I still want to open the cave.
Yeah, they're showing incredible signs of intelligence, boarding a ship, looking around, trying to get indoors. They've mechanized, created a door.
I have no weapons, but we do have weapons on board. Perhaps we can.
Well, I mean, if you talk about that, you notice maybe some footprints around this rock. As maybe where these people are, where these bandits are hiding, we could bring some weapons with us. That'd be plenty of reason.
That's a good idea. Tell the captain that we suspect that might be a bandit slayer, and he'll make sure
it might be their hideout.
Armed.
So we might.
That's a good idea.
And you said that the crew that boarded with you on the ship had no idea. They just thought it was regular boarding.
They said it was grappling hooks.
Yeah. Okay.
Multiple times trying to open things, but it was in fact.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have it in me to suggest it might be claw marks.
Make sure you've got lots of film in your camera.
Sound preposterous. Yeah. So I'll make sure I get my one of my little miniature shovels and keep that handy by myself.
Gotcha.
Maybe sneak away a knife from the kitchen, from the mess tent.
With all that you've done so far, what do you plan to do next?
Well, it's gonna take them some time to get the rigging set up to move the rock, so we might as well go check out those shapes I saw yesterday.
All right.
Maybe
Indeed.
they're related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Oh,
they're
someone want to give me a D6 roll.
I'll do it. 3.
Okay. Well, that's good for you then, because that's a 0 on your supplies that are used for the day. Because now that you're on firm land, basically the modifiers act in your favor, so it's -3. So 0. You haven't actually lost anything beyond what you'd normally expect to for today. And does someone else want to give me another D6?
All right, here, I'll do one finally. Haha, look at this. A 3 as well.
Okay, not too bad. So +6. That means that it'll be, they reckon the crew, once you take them over to the rock and show them this is the boulder we need to move, a couple of the guys there think, well, we're going to need to kind of get some wood from maybe cannibalizing a few of the buildings back there, get some rope set together. Then so they proceed to describe this lovely little framework that they're going to build. They think it's going to take about 9 hours to get the whole thing set. So it will be ready by the end of the day, but moving it in the dark, probably not such a good idea, but it'll be ready for you effectively for use tomorrow then.
All right.
Yeah, I would rather not be trying to move this in a swarm of rats.
That's the idea. That's why that after having experienced the horde last night, everyone is very much they're all on the same page about getting back to camp and having the fires lit before the sun goes down. But you have a lot of time to get round to Greenpoint now, so you pretty much follow your own tracks back round to the old oceanic phosphate site, and then round even further towards Greenpoint. And it's this green sand, but also green because of the vegetation that started to grow through here as well. There are areas here where there are lots of long grass and other plants, which again, all non-indigenous, that have started to sprout here. And the closer you get to it, this area, the more you realize that there is just a swarm of crabs, more so here than anywhere else that you've seen on the island, and this carrion flock of birds which have descended on these things which are laid out here. You have to get right on top of it to realize what it is. There are 3 tiger sharks which are laid down well above the waterline, head pointing towards the ocean, so their tail pointing towards the lagoon, and all of them just laid out on the sand, rigid, all in a row, 3 in a row. Most of them, the halves and the sides, have been eaten away by the horde of crabs and birds over 2 days now. But yeah, they've been, well, at least 2 days that you're aware of, poking away at these things.
They're laid out equally spaced, like they just didn't wash up there, but they're like purposefully straight and spaced. They are
very, very precisely laid out and almost again precisely equidistant.
Your sea people have done this. Definitely.
Must have.
Because I can't see how they could get up here on the shore in this position. It's perfectly spaced. But to what purpose? It's like they're being eaten by the...
Right, they're just being eaten by the crabs and the birds.
Unless they are bothering them in the sea and they kill them and just store them here to...
Well, I think they're very common in this area, so I think that would be like, killing the rats. It'd be nearly impossible.
Some sort of sacrifice, then. I mean, if
ritual.
They have, do these things have a culture? Are they more animal, or are they more?
I said they used to live. There was a group of them. They used to live in a town. They used to live in an American town.
Oh, so so it wasn't an infestation but it was actual, like people almost.
Yeah.
Oh,
we often would occasionally hear. Now realize that the East Coast, there's quite a lot of classism and racism and so forth. And people from Innsmouth supposedly had this cast, this look about them that people didn't like. And I would say that it was somewhat fish-like. Their eyes were a little too bulgy. Their heads would go bald quickly, and you never saw any of them older than 20 or 30 years old.
It's beyond that. The ones they had in the camp were
really.
It's like frogs comes to mind, fish comes to mind, webbed hands, webbed feet, scaly. I mean,
And you saw these with your own eyes.
I've been trying. I saw them with my own eyes. I've been trying to find evidence of their existence ever since. And it's like some kind of nightmare. Now that we're here, it's here. I've been hoping this entire time, the weeks leading up to this. I was asking around in Mexico and every port, trying to see rumors of these things. I was hoping they would be here. And now that they are,
So if they're capable of living amongst people, and somewhat passing, at least at times for human, then they definitely have some sort of culture.
Right.
This could be some sort of religious ritual.
Yeah, exactly. But when the government gathered them up, was it more or less for like, this is a bizarre thing to be scientifically studied, or was it more of like, my God, they're really dangerous?
The general population didn't like the people from Innsmouth. So we always thought that it was just one of those racial things. It was round them all up and get rid of them.
They said it was for a prohibition liquor bust at the time. That was their excuse, but it was the Navy. I mean, if they're in the Navy camps, is the military involved?
Yeah, if it was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
and is it they've tried to break onto our ship?
Yeah, this doesn't sound that safe to be here. These things are 7 feet tall, you say, and they could be 300 pounds
easily
and
from the depth.
If they're smart and as you were claiming, then if they take a disliking to us, this could be dangerous. Like.
Well, let's hope that we're more advanced than they are and that we can defend ourselves. But perhaps we can reason with them and, surely they're not completely unreasonable. When we humans first landed on Polynesian islands, everybody was afraid of one another, but they were able to discuss, eventually figure things out. Sign language and whatever. What you're trying to convey. Who knows? This could be a great discovery for you, Beverly.
Yes, it could be. My nerves. I just really bad nerves since last night.
Do you have any film to maybe take a picture of this, or?
Yes, I mean, this goes back to believability. I mean,
we'll take the pictures anyway because we have. Without the pictures, it's just words
and a cast.
Yeah, I'll snap a picture of the sharks.
Okay, you take a picture or two. There's a flash of a bulb, or at least getting close enough to them. You will disturb the flock of birds which are covering them, exposing a bit more of the bodies. So, if people want to use any of their skills at this point to gain more information,
would evidence collection work?
Oh, yes. How many points do you want to spend?
I'll spend 2 points of evidence collection.
Okay. The 3 carcasses that have been laid out here were carried from the ocean. Now that especially you can see, as the crabs start to move away as you get closer, you can see 6 different sets of footprints, webbed, the same as what was down by the rock, that have carried these up to... what's the word I'm going to call? Up to beyond the waterline. So 2 of them per shark. And at that point, there's something that it kind of feeds into a clue from biology. So does anyone want to use that?
Yeah, I'll use my biology.
especially as all the birds start moving away, there's one thing that doesn't make sense. There's no blood. The wounds have no blood coming out of them whatsoever. It's as if they're hacking into completely exsanguinated meat.
Or could have they been killed out at sea, bled out there, and then brought?
They could have done, but there's evidence to suggest that that's not the case, that they were cut here. Because feeding it, this bounces back to the evidence collection side now. Beverly sees that one of them is slightly rolled onto its side and can see 4 or 5 rather distinct claw marks having gutted the shark from its equivalent of the chin, so underneath the mouth line, right the way down to just below the tail. And internal organs have started to spill out of the wounds. They were cut open here. There is not a drop of blood anywhere in the sand.
This is
It seems impossible.
how? How did they manage this?
Unless they were captured, brought on shore, and may perhaps hung up and drained of their blood, and then just discarded onto the sand.
Yeah.
There still should be blood.
The nearest palm trees are quite away from Green Point. There's nowhere to hang them up. This will prompt another stability test
On all of us.
Those trees. See what's closest to here.
Ooh.
Oh,
I only got a 2
stability.
on that one.
I'm spending another point.
Okay.
Stability. Oh yeah, heck. I'll spend a couple.
Oh, that was 1 point, not enough this time.
Ooh,
I still
nice.
fail.
Okay. I need to keep a track of how much people are losing and spending. So Morgan spent 1 point.
Yep.
Did anyone else spend any points?
I spent 2.
Okay.
2 stability, and we got a modified 8.
Okay. So Marshall doesn't lose any more beyond the ones that you spent. But then it sounds like Dr. Wyatt and Beverly both failed.
Correct.
That's 3 points from each of you then, apart from Dr. Marshall.
So we reduce that from our stability.
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, this is definitely unnerving, especially for Beverly, because this looks exactly again like the same groups of 5 that you've seen carved on or hacked out of the
ship.
Yeah. Oh, Dr. Marshall had a question.
And I minus just the 2 stability, correct?
Yeah, just the 2 that you spent because you got more than 5 on your roll.
Oh, thanks.
Can I spend another point of biology to try and figure out how all of the blood could have been drained out of this animal, and that it must have been drained before they were cut open?
Yeah, if you want to spend a point, that will confirm that again. It's definitely that they were cut up here. They bled out here. The way that they've been cut is in such a way that even just laying them down on the sand, they would pretty much naturally exsanguinate the corpse. It would have taken a bit of time to do so, probably over the course of a night or so. But that's where your evidence starts to break down, is that there's not a single drop of blood anywhere on the sand, but you are certain that they were cut open here.
So there was a container, maybe they had some sort of sheet or tub or whatever. The shark was put on that. They bled it out, collected the blood.
It wouldn't have completely bled out. They once they discarded, there would have been residue of blood on the animal. There would have been residue of blood in the sand. I don't understand this at all. It's almost as if something sponged up the blood or cleaned up the blood or licked up the blood.
So I'd like to study the sand and the ground underneath them a little bit. I'll take a scoop up and with the rudimentary equipment I have, kind of give it a once over.
Awesome.
Okay. Debating Okay, give me a... I'm going to say this is going to be kind of a handling equipment so you don't injure yourself in the process roll, which I really wish there was a skill that was exactly that specific. Give me a scuffling, your choice of scuffling or weapons.
Ooh, scuffling or weapons. Okay, where is under general?
Yes.
Scuffling. Ooh, scuffling. I have nothing in scuffling and nothing in weapons. Oh, that's just
what is scuffling?
Hand to hand.
Yeah.
Oh,
fists.
okay.
Do I
Like
roll
fighting
anyway?
roll.
Yep.
Just
You can roll. It just means the target number is going to be higher because you don't have the skill.
I have nothing in either of them, so I'm going to add all of that to this roll. I've got a 5.
Okay, that makes the maths easier then. You start digging away quite not hurriedly but frantically, looking deeper and deeper into the sand, and if anything, it seems very dry, which means you are beyond the waterline, so that makes a kind of sense.
Right.
But even so, it just seems a little odd that it's quite this dry.
Yeah, look at this. This makes no sense. There'd be some sort of moisture. Look, Malcolm, Beverly.
Well, hot baking sun, and we're quite a ways above the water line.
Oh, I suppose.
But once again, no blood residue, no moisture from the blood. Oh, it's quite odd. Let's go on. Let's see what else is here.
Should we go inland? Go, say, straight up from the water line to where the sharks are, and then go continue straight in that direction? Maybe
we can go take a look at the lagoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm heading that way. It doesn't look as though the footprints go over the rise and then down towards the lagoon itself. They stop a fair way away from that. They carry the sharks up and then they turn around and they go back out to the water line. Neither here nor at the Rock have you seen they're interested in going anywhere near the lagoon.
Well, we haven't taken a good look at the lagoon anyway. We know it's fresh water, which must be a bit brackish because occasionally waves have to go up and over and into the center. The rest of it's rainwater, probably thousands of years of rainwater, filling the caldera of the volcano. But
yeah, I mean, looking at this, it's very green. There are occasional splotches or blotches where you can evidently see, oh, that's where it must go down to the really deep depths down there. Right. And it is big. It's, like I say, 1.5 miles across at points and then say 2.6 miles long. It's a big old body of water that, even because it's not that high off the waterline compared to the rest of the ocean, there's still waves that go across it, but it's just the wind that's gently rippling it across. Right. It's not like a mirrored surface where it doesn't move, so there is movement in there. There's plenty of, say, weeds that are growing in there.
Any kind of animal life, snails or fish, little fish, or anything like that?
There's probably little fish in there. So small things you can occasionally see dart away. They hover so motionless for such a long period, and then they just flicker away off into the distance. But it's populated, but nothing particularly big. I mean, it's an enclosed ecosystem. You imagine it's not going to have particularly big predators in there.
Right. Oh no, it wouldn't be able to support large fish.
I'm a little spooked from what's just unfolding here. I'm looking up and down the coastline. Well, the shore of the lagoon. Is there any tracks or footprints or anything going in or out of there or along? Or
I won't even make a roll for this because it's very blatantly obvious. Nothing has gone near the lagoon. Nothing that walks on 2 legs anyway. Not even
birds?
The birds are mostly camped out on the trees and on the higher points of the sand. As I mentioned before, it's leading up from the ocean up to the highland, it's much smoother an ascent. It doesn't quite go falling off a cliff when you get to that high point, but it is a much more steep angle.
Right.
So it's not the greatest places for the birds to land. There are a couple of nests dotted here and there, but no sign of anything bigger going down there. Again, the same thing with the crabs. You can see maybe a couple get up and maybe try to get over the edge, and then you can see they start to slide and think better of it and start to head back.
So
up.
there's no seabirds floating on the water?
No, none. That is odd.
Oh, well, maybe when Richardson's feeling better, we should advise him against landing in this.
And you can definitely see here that there is room to land, and there's plenty of places where he could land it. But as you said, it's whether you want to or not, because it's definitely giving you that feeling that, again, something's a little off.
If the crabs are everywhere and they won't go in there.
Well, biologically, that's not that unusual. They're saltwater creatures, and this is not saltwater.
But the birds, though.
The bird's not floating on it. That's a little odd, because birds just tend to float around for the fun of it. But I don't know. It's mysteries after mysteries. It's an odd place.
You think they'll have that rig set up for the rock door soon?
Yeah, we should probably. Well, we're not going to open it until tomorrow, so.
Well, if you wanted to wander back round that way, is the quickest way to get back to the camp.
Yeah, perhaps we should. Make sure everyone has some means of defending themselves. Do you think we should tell anyone? Maybe we tell Richardson and Lion.
Yes,
hopefully they'll be
agree.
Much better by the time we get back.
I don't know if I want to tell the crew, though. I don't. If there's just a couple of these creatures, I don't want them getting paranoid and killing them. Why
don't we tell the captain? Let him use his discretion as far as his crew goes.
Yeah, show him the sharks. He's seen the claw marks on the ship. Will most certainly realize the connection.
I can almost guess that he'll say, "Don't say anything," because he doesn't want a mutiny. But
let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's head back.
Okay, you start heading back then towards the camp again, following around a clockwise direction now, rather than going the long way around the island. You get back to the rock, and you can hear the crew still frantically beavering away inside, and you hear the captain's voice. So it looks like he's come along here to have a word with the crew. So if you wanted to tick 2 items off your list together, it looks like you can do them both here.
Yeah, let's take him to the side and tell him
and give him the info dump. Okay, you walk into the cave. It's a bit crowded in here because they've got 4 members of the crew working on constructing this frame. I mean, it's a bit cramped in here, but they're starting to get stuff up there. And you kind of, well, how do you announce your presence?
I think we just walk in.
Hey guys, how's it going in here?
Okay, so which case, Dr. Marshall's the first one to speak. You see one of the first mate's actually one of the crew members that's getting stuck in. He's hammering a nail into a piece of wood at the moment, trying to get a beam, or say a junction set up, a join rather. That's the word I was looking for. And so the captain turns around and says, "Oh, hello there." And when the first mate turns around, as he's whacking the nail into the wood, and for that moment where he's distracted, where he turns around to look at you, he smacks the hammer straight into his hand, which then part through his hand, and the kind of area here between his index finger and thumb the nail goes straight through it. as he pretty much impales himself on it. There's a good old shriek, and as a sailor would do, turns the air very blue, and starts to complain. Oh, damn it! Take your eye off the ball for one goddamn minute. And he's ripping his shirt, part of his sleeve of his shirt, to try and bandage his arm. But the thing that catches your eyes, and where we will leave it for tonight, is with this image of you looking down at the ground at where there's these few drops of blood that have fallen onto the soil, or fallen onto the sand, and the sand sucking it down until there is nothing left, as if there was not a single drop of blood ever there. And we will pick it up next time.
Our players included Stuart Lively, Morgan Llewellyn, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the fighter art of gameplay and game mastering. There's a link below. We currently are producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows, free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.